Hello and welcome to the Slapshot Syndicate podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more content, and whilst you're at it, go and follow our social media pages. They're on screen now. Now, on to the episode.
Hello everybody, welcome back to a very special episode of the Slapshot Syndicate, our 50th overall, which, mate, is a crazy one to think about, isn't it? But yeah, a big welcome back to everybody. Bradders, we've made 50 episodes, mate. How do you feel about that?
It's mad, isn't it? To be honest, it's passed quite quick. I don't really feel like it's been a job or anything like that. It's from when we first started it, looking back then and to where we are now, I feel like we've gained a lot of experience, we've made mistakes, we've put them right, and we've just improved like our overall sort of product, what we're trying to deliver. But first and foremost, I think it's just been fun. Obviously, chatting hockey with you and Azza, all the interaction from the fans, both virtually and in person. We've hit a milestone of 1,000 followers. We've had all of these sort of firsts, and it's been really refreshing. So yeah, long may it continue.
Absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree more. I think for me, like you hit the nail on the head there. For me, it's been breath of fresh air, really. Every time we've achieved one of these little things, or we've completed that next milestone, it's been amazing. And a big part of that, obviously, is you and Azza. So I appreciate you both for that. Obviously, you'll notice Azza's not here today, unfortunately, due to other commitments elsewhere. He's not been able to make it, but he does pass on his big thanks, especially to you guys, about obviously all the support that they've given us. Obviously, we wouldn't be making it to episode 50 if there was nobody interacting or anything like that.
No,
so it means a lot to us for you guys to be tuning in like that. And first and foremost, I think we start as we always do. Do we talk about our mighty Seahawks, brothers?
Yeah, definitely. We've had a fantastic weekend. I think it's been a good weekend overall for hockey. Again, some interesting results in certain places, which we'll come on to. But look, as a Seahawks fan looking into the camp there, things have been pretty good this weekend. So,
shall we? Well, I think with that, I couldn't have put it any better myself. So I think with that, we'll roll into Let's Talk Seahawks.
Okay, so welcome back. This is the part where we talk about Seahawks and the results over the weekend for them and their overall performance. So, first and foremost, we started on Saturday night at Bristol Pit Bulls. It was a double header for us this weekend. First night being in their barn. Fairly confident coming into it. Did you feel confident for it?
Yeah, I think me and you both backed Hull for a 4-point weekend here, but I think it's easy to guess that in the NIHL Predictor rather than actually delivering that. Bristol have got some real good results over the last couple of weekends at home, so it's never going to be an easy game, was it? And I think, obviously, you watched it on Saturday night, didn't you? I was at the Hull Jets game instead. But you had quite a lot to say about Bristol and the sort of how close it was for the first period or two, didn't you?
Yeah, well, in terms of the scoreline, it was close. Obviously, when you look at the stats and stuff, it sort of tells a different story. Yeah. And truthfully, it looked like we was another level above Bristol. We had all the possession, we was having all the chances. Fortunately for them, in the first two periods, Napier stood on his head. Yeah. And he kept him in the game. So I think Bristol needed to give him massive credit for that. Whilst the scoreline looks quite heavy, he was the catalyst to keeping them in the game. So, I feel like for them it was a bit of a shame. So we started the scoring early on with Emil Svek, 14 minutes into it, and from there it felt like, okay, this could be one of them games where we sort of take it by the scruff of the neck and it would be quite high scoring. Then Bristol get one back, so it was 1-1, and it sort of played out that way for a while. So right up until the third period, it was chance after chance and no one was scoring. So we went into the third period 2-2. It was only in that final 20 minutes where we sort of pulled away, getting 4 goals. But for the first 3-4 minutes of that third period, it looked like we was
still the
same. To be honest, it looked like that Bristol were gonna come back. They looked more favourite to score it in that period, so it was a bit worrying in that sense. But soon as we sort of worked out, actually, we hadn't won this game. We got our heads back in it. The agency came back. The players started coming back, and yeah, before you knew it, we sort of got that third goal, the fourth goal, which you could say, you know, the game was dead and buried maybe at that point, and then, you know, from there it just they sort of sank. Then there wasn't much they could do. If they was on top for a lot of the game and we managed to get some goals, I think it could have been a different story. But given that we had most of the possession and most of the chances, it felt more likely that we'd have won the game. But I just wanted to say, like, you know, from Bristol's perspective, they were leaving their netting out to dry all the time. I think there was like maybe 3 or 4 chances where Emil Svet got in behind the defence, and he was 1-on-1 with the netty, and that happened to Chamber as well. And you know, on a couple of those occasions, Bobby got his goal from that. Svet got his goal from that. So it was a little bit. If I was Napier, I'd be disappointed in his D-men, because you know they really did leave him out to dry, and he put in as good a performance as he could under them circumstances. But for them, they're obviously going to have to start asking questions. Now I know their head coach wasn't present, no, he wasn't present at this game. So John Dunbar had taken on the player coach role. So understandably, you know that's going to come with its challenges. I don't know what's specifically happened with their head coach. I think it's a family bereavement.
Unavailable sort of thing.
So yeah, obviously for good reason, he needs some time off. So they had a bit of a tough break there, but for us, we looked like a solid team. We did.
I just wanted to go back to the sort of the net minding that you just mentioned with Napier, and obviously he's been in our team of the week quite a few times now.
Yeah.
And you know this game sort of maybe don't reflect how well of a keeper he is. Do you think that, early on you touched about, us getting in behind and stuff, and obviously Emil's was the first goal of the game, so, from the off, was it a case of like you felt Bristol was coming after us, like them pushing high and sort of leaving those gaps in behind, or do you think it was a little bit more of like a lack of them?
I think it was pace. I think it was the pace of the game as to why we were getting in behind them. Definitely, I mean, there was an element of their D going too far up to try and push up. Obviously they were chasing the game a lot of the time as well, so there was an element of that. But realistically, it just seemed like we were much faster paced. We were much more clinical with our passes. We weren't really taking that many sloppy touches in comparison to what Bristol was doing. So it just sort of made us look like we was a level above, and the sharpness of us, come through. And again, when you've got forwards like Bobby and Emil Svet, they're going to find them gaps. They're going to get in behind where they can, and if it works once, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to try it again and again and again, and that's exactly what happens. So.
Yeah. In terms of the goal, so obviously, the end scoreline was 6-2 to the Hull Seahawks. Like Brad rightly said, it was 2-2 going into the third period. Have you got any more like bits and bobs to say about those 4 goals there? So obviously John Dunbar came back to make it 1-1 after Emil Svet scored. Was that a bit against the grain, would you say? And obviously talk to us a little bit about then Seahawks coming back 2-2, and obviously Tanner Butler squared it up in the third period, so it's 2-1 going into the third period actually.
Yeah, no, they've got some quality in that side. John Dunbar being the main catalyst of that team, and you could really see he was trying to drag them through to it. The goals they did score were quite well worked goals. I think they deserved it for the effort they were putting in, and they showed that there's quality there. It just obviously went for us. Now I think it just comes down to we needed that challenge. We needed that 2-2 into the third period, because we've had that before and sort of let it slip, and we needed to overcome it. So I think from our side of it, we had to just knuckle down and get on with the job, and then they made us panic a little bit at first, and certainly in that third period, and it felt a little bit like we could let it go, and which would have been massively disappointing as a Seahawks fan, given how control we were in the game. And just to give you a sort of insight of that, if you look at the team stats there, you can see we had 56 shots on goal to their 35, so it was massively in our favour. If we'd have come away on the losing side of this game, it'd have looked like we had some real problems going forward. Luckily we didn't, but that was really the story of the night, to be honest with you. There weren't much else to report. It was, I felt like the game itself went quite quick. There weren't that many breaks. The refs, to their credit, they let it flow.
Yeah.
Let it flow really well. It was quite self-disciplined. Both teams, knew they weren't going to have, or they definitely shouldn't have, sort of a repeat of what happened last season there. And yeah, it just seemed to go very well for the Seahawks, and positive signs as to what was to come. Obviously for us though, we just needed to make sure we repeated that on the Sunday night. So with that said, we might as well come into that game. So as mentioned before, it was a double header. Sunday, Bristol travelling to Hull, and we just needed much more of the same.
Absolutely, yeah. So this is one that I did watch. Unfortunately, I wasn't present at the game, but I did stream it, and you and Azza was there in the flesh one, yeah.
Why weren't you at the game, Rossy?
I was feeling unwell, let's just put it that way. But I was feeling unwell. Different game from by the sounds of what you've said. Wasn't really that tight, to be honest. The boys came out and really sort of made a statement, didn't they?
Yeah.
Obviously Emmy picked up a first goal, assisted by Stubbs and Cornel, which I think Stubbs assisted the first goal the night prior as well, actually, didn't he? For Svek.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. But the one good thing I liked about Seahawks on this night, as well as the night before, from what it seems anyway, goals from every line, Brad.
Yeah.
Or, goals from, multiple goals from each line. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, it was obviously just proof in the depth in the squad, what Matt has tried to achieve, and we've struggled with that in recent weeks and months, really, and I think we've seen a good example this weekend of what it can achieve. Obviously, you've got Bo Reader on the score sheet, you've got Bones, you've got Huey, you've got Stubbs, and then obviously you've got your imports in Emmy, Johnny and Stallard all on the score sheet as well. So there is some real depth there, and it just felt like the matchups for them were too difficult. There were times where we put in our second or even third line at one point out against their first line, and it didn't look out of place really. So I think that's what Matt is trying to achieve this season, and he certainly proved last night that can come to fruition, and it did come to fruition for us. What did you make of the game?
I was really impressed. I know Matty mentioned the week prior that he had to make a really tough decision around the imports, and that getting rid of one of the imports or allowing one of the imports to leave would settle the squad. Now obviously there was a lot up in the air, bits and bobs around Brock Bartholomew and what would follow that, and obviously we'll maybe talk about that a little bit after. But he said that the main reason why he wanted 4 was so they was all consistently playing, and all these lines could sort of find their own chemistry. I think moving Hartman to third line with Musil and Ethan Hare was a really good move this week, and allowing Brutton to play alongside Kent and Bo Reader on that fourth line was really nice. Those 3 lads know each other. It seems like Hare, Musil and Hartman have got some really good chemistry, and then Johnny moving to the top line with Emil Svek and Chamber and allowing that line of Stally, Huey and Bones to do their thing. I think every line, if you look at our line now, they're just brilliant. I think the matchups there are really good. Like you say, if you've got a first line of Bricknell, Dunbar and Callie Robertson, for example, going up against Musil, Hare and Hartman, they're gritty enough to sort of keep them at bay, and that's obviously what happened in the game. So I mean, I was really, really impressed. The one thing I did like as well, obviously, other than the consistency amongst the line, it sort of seemed to me, watching the game, I can see these lines sort of finding their feet and they know where they're going to be and bits and bobs like that. But the thing I really liked about the game is the fact that they just kept going at it and kept going at it and kept going at it for large parts of the first and second period, definitely.
Not so much the third.
Not so much the third period.
Yeah, and not to put words in his mouth, but Azza, he did say last night, he was like, he's almost, it takes some of the shine away when you do take the foot off your gas, because it was a very, very impressive performance. I mean, there were people in the stand shouting for 10 at one point, and
it was 7-1 at one point, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So they managed to get a few goals later on, and then the conversation starts being had of like, okay, one more, bring it to 7-5, then it's a case of pulling at it and game on. But luckily for us, that didn't come to fruition. We didn't go down that route. But yeah, I think it was damage limitation for Bristol at that point. But for us, I think we sort of let them off with a warning, didn't we? Yeah. Really. But 7-4, we've got plenty of goals this weekend. We've shown the depth. We've shown the tenacity. We've shown the skill. There were points last night on our power plays, although we didn't actually score a power play goal. I felt like it was really good. We were moving the puck really well. It was fast, instinctive is probably the word. And
there was no second thoughts about what do we do here.
The chemistry was just seemed to be there. So, Matty has all of the right to be happy with the team there. And I think if that's how they know they can play, there's no reason as to why that can't carry forward. And I think they will do now. A lot of people have said, maybe. There's a few heads in the camp questioning, how good the team are, even though we've got quality players in the roster, and that's just a sign to say, well, we have got it in the locker. You can go out and do that every week. You just need to, to find it inside you. So hopefully that's a turning point for us. 4-point weekend's been massive. Yeah. I know we'll come on to this a little bit later on, but this could have had quite a hefty. This could have weighted hefty on where our position was in the league table if it weren't for one other game. I think it was just one other game that we needed to sort of go in our favour, and we'd have gone up maybe 2 places this weekend. But I don't think that was not meant to be. So, but we've got some points back. We're still in that run in, and hopefully, like I said, we can just move forward from some of the lull we've had. We've had a bit of disappointment with Brock, and what comes with that is, did we get another import D to replace him?
Yeah.
Evidently not. So those of you who may have seen, Matt has opted for an import goaltender.
So the name, I don't want to butcher it, so I am trying to get it up on here. So I know his first name is Alex Santeri. I don't want to say his last name without reading it so it's Alex Santeri Heiskanen. So that was due to Dima leaving. Well, so obviously Dimitri Zamostra left this week, didn't
he? Yeah.
And I think that was more a move sort of around, well, he's opting for an import netminder. And unfortunately, obviously between himself and Jordan McLaughlin, it was more of a which move do you make? And unfortunately, Dima had to part ways for that. Any notes on Dima's departure for yourself?
Yeah, I really like Dima. I think when we've struggled in that, he's stepped up. There were times where Jordan's found it difficult in the net, and he's had to come in, and it's sort of been quite refreshing to see that.
Yeah.
But also on the other way around as well, where he's been struggling, Jordan's come back. I know Dima is a little bit prone to injury and stuff, so he struggles in that sense. But I think it's the right decision. I think it would have been very difficult to let Jordan go at this stage. And obviously we haven't seen this netminder in person to see what it's about. I hope that it's going to be the right decision to make. Most of us were probably expecting a D-man to come in and replace Brock. Mm-hmm. We've gone from this season to having 4 forwards to then bringing in an import D-man to now having an import net. So we've sort of tried it all. And we've had 5 imports.
Got to catch them all.
Yeah. And we've had 5 imports at one point. So, why not? Why not give it a go, see if it works?
Yeah, and I think Matty's main thing about this was he had to identify which part of the team he felt needed the most sort of improvement, or he felt that was a weak point. Obviously, the signing of Lee Hayward is a massive signing for us, regardless of his age. I think I said it to you and Azza, didn't I? I think he's one for the room as well. So inside the room, that experience, that level-headedness. He's a good culture player. Yeah. He's been there and he's done it obviously. And obviously on the ice, he can be offensive. He can chip in points. I think Matty mentioned last year he was our highest scoring D-man.
Yeah.
So I think he's a really good one to get back. So obviously he's probably not going to do what Brock did. But I think once we've got Noah back, with the defence that we've got now, our D-cord does look pretty tight. So obviously Matty's then looked at the goaltending, and I think he's maybe thought that in certain games or certain areas we could have had like a goal or one that the boys would have been disappointed with if we'd have had perhaps an import netminder that could have been a different story. And I guess for the remainder of the season, the challenges for the new netminder and obviously for the Seahawks is to prove Matty right in that respect, because how different could things have been in the first couple of months if we weren't losing those games by one goal. It's interesting to think about it. Could we have been up there with the rest of the pack and building that confidence? We don't know, do we? But it will be interesting to see him come in. Want to touch on Jordy and obviously say that I think he has had a good season so far. He definitely started really, really well, didn't he? Yeah. I think he had a little bit of a wobble maybe in November, but I don't think that was just him. I think overall, maybe the team had a little bit of a wobble. There was a bit of a patch, wasn't there, where the results was a bit inconsistent. Yeah. But I think generally Jordy has always put decent performances in, and hopefully he isn't too disappointed about the signing of the import netminder, because obviously at the end of the day, like Matty said, everyone's here to win, and if Matty identifies that as someone who's going to come in and help the team, then at the end of the day, Jordy's played 30 games, so it's not going to be like he hasn't played his part this season.
Yeah, agreed.
So, other than that, I think one of the only other ones I wanted to touch on was Richard Hartman. What do you make of his impact so far? He's only been with us for a couple of weeks, hasn't he? But I think this weekend especially, he's had a really, really good weekend.
Yeah, I think he's hit the ground running now, to be honest with you. He scored on Saturday night.
He scored 2 goals, didn't he?
He scored twice.
I wish I'd have seen him, to be honest.
Yeah, I know he had some chances last night as well, but first week's almost a free hit, innit? You go into any team, you need a little bit of time to settle in and learn the chemistry and get to who you're going to work with, who's on your line, and he's done that really well. I think he fits in great on the line he is on with Moose Hill. Yeah, who again, just to comment on him, he's been solid really as well. Another player who similarly had to come into the squad. He's had a long layoff, did Moose Hill, but he's hit the ground running as well, and they both can do. They both do the hard work very, very well. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. So there's certain players that go under the radar, like Tom Stubley is your stay-at-home defenseman who's going to do all of the gritty stuff, and they do that in the forward positions as well. So I think you need that. We've talked about these lines and the depth, and ordinarily that's where you will concede goals. Is it if you're
lacking that, or
if you're lacking that
consistent
and with that now, I think you can really see a difference. We're not giving them time to get energy back, or
definitely not
giving them 2 minutes, a minute around the net 100%. To just fire shots off. It's more competitive than them lines. So
that you've just touched on there, like the fourth line have been a prime example of that this weekend, because like Alex Kent, Brutz and Bo Reeder looked dangerous when they came out. It was never like we're going to have to chuck third line on here, let's hope we don't concede. Like, there was going at it, wasn't they? And I know that Bo Reeder's goal was a real nice, well worked. I think Kenty dumped it into the corner, chased it down, give it to Brutz, who had a little bit of magic waving in and out, back post, and Bo was like, thank you very much. And obviously big Bo Reeder, 16 years old, banged it in. But what more can you want from the fourth line? Like, so what you're saying about the transparency between lines is so true. I agree 100%.
I mean, but that seems to be the story of the weekend. We've not shown that it was a one-off. We've delivered it on both nights, and it's got us a 4-point weekend. So all in all, happy days.
We can't be upset with that, can we, mate?
No. Should we move on?
I think so.
Cool. That concludes Seahawks reaction.
Hello everybody, welcome back. Bit of a strange switch up here, but as many of you might know, we announced earlier on in the week that on our Instagram and our Facebook that we joined 4,000 and counting and Nicky Watt for an episode that is going to be out tomorrow over on his Facebook page, so please do go join that. That did take up the remainder of our usual Monday slot for the recording, which we was glad to do because it was a great interview. So again, please do go check it out. But due to that, obviously, we couldn't do episode 50 without the main man. And someone who usually leads the sort of ship on the episode. As you'll notice probably earlier in the episode, I was babbling like a buffoon, so I'm going to be able to hand it back over to the main man and the host. And Azza, it's great to have you back on for episode 50, mate.
Cheers, mate. Really appreciate it. You know, it was a bit of a shame to miss the big interview with Nikki on 4,000 and counting. Obviously, just work commitments got the better of me, unfortunately, and I'm just glad to be part of it now. You know, pick up the episode where you and Brad was, and we'll jump straight into it then. So I think we're going to look at the results from the past week, wasn't we?
Absolutely, mate.
We'll get cracking with that. And the first fixture was obviously that second leg of that cup game, which was well, I don't think anybody really saw it coming, to be honest with you, after how tight that first game was. 4-4, the first leg. Sheffield then hosting and taking it 5-1.
Resounding win, that one. An absolute statement as well. I think in the predictor, not to reveal too much, but I'm sure that I backed Peterborough for this, and I was pretty confident that it'd be quite a tight game. I don't think any of us thought that it was going to be resounding in the way of Sheffield, but what a way to get through to the final, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've said many a time, you know, Sheffield at home, they can go on these massive goal-scoring streaks, and it just proved it again, putting 5 away. I only caught one clip of the game, to be fair, and Hayden Levine had made an absolute nightmare for himself, and he was a distance out of his goal, and I just remember the Sheffield player just almost slotted it around the back of him and into the empty net, and I think that was early on in the game. So
was that the one he popped right to the player as well? Like
almost like Gibby. It just
don't want to play a final anyway. I don't like Thursday night hockey.
Yeah, madness that, for as good as, you know, Hayden Levine is and has been for the Peterborough Phantoms, for him to make a bit of a mistake like that in a big, you know, semi-final second leg was a madness. And obviously it's sort of the nature of the game from then on, wasn't it? You know, Sheffield taking it, as we mentioned. So that sort of finished up the midweek action. We moved on to Friday. Sheffield again, but there was hosting the base in Stoke Bison. This time at Sheffield, another victory, 4-2. A bit closer to the Peterborough game, but again, pretty resounding against Bison.
Yeah, that guy again. I think obviously Genjinov. I believe he got a hat trick in that semi-final, and another 2 on Friday night. He just seems to be on absolute fire at the moment, don't he? Like, there's no signs of stopping, and yeah, he really is on fire. I think it's a little bit more of a respectable one for the Bison, just because they've been struggling last few weeks, especially after all that nonsense with Solway. Be good for them to sort of get their players back, but I don't know now. Obviously, we'll go into the standings in a little bit. I don't know now. That big 5-4 game gap has now whittled down a little bit because of games like this. And obviously, these are the ones that you sort of needed to make up those points with, really. So it will be interesting to see where those bottom 3 are.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it in the last episode on, you know, the battles in the league and where we're looking. And we did say there's bottom 4 teams which are, you know, looking at pushing for that last playoff spot, and it will start getting a bit tighter now as the games close up for Base and Stoke. And a 4-point weekend, which I think was Romford last week, managed to get a 4-point or a 3-point. They do make a massive difference at this part of the season. So I think Bison will be looking to get back on one of those winning streaks again that they had earlier in the season. Yeah,
absolutely. Then it is much needed. But I think like you say, a 4-point weekend or a 3-point weekend or something like that. Even I think Romford I think Romford had the weekend before was 4 points. Was it just they had one game last week and won the game, didn't they? So I think that's just the difference between the bottom 4 at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and like you say, I think looking forward into the fixture, I think it's Romford and Bristol playing each other, and obviously both of those two close to each other in the table minute, and it looks like it could be one of those two pushing for that last spot. So it's going to be a great double-header, that one to watch.
Yeah, it'd be huge.
So moving on to the Saturday fixtures, and the first game was Romford Raiders, who hosted the Peterborough Phantoms. The Phantoms took that 4-2. I don't think that was too much of a surprise looking at it. You know, Peterborough have been pretty good on the road, aside from obviously the cup semi-final second leg. But you're always, you know, go and get a good game out of Peterborough, aren't you? I wasn't shocked by that one.
No, never. I think as well, like you just said, as soon if they do ever have a little slump, they bounce straight back. They've got those characters to do that as well. So yeah, not a massively surprising one. Romford have been making their home a little bit of a hard place to go recently, though, to be fair to them. But I mean, there's no shame in losing 4-2 to Peterborough. Look what they've done already this season.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't agree more. Leeds Knights hosting the Telford Tigers and Leeds taking it 4-2.
Yeah.
So, a good game there, really, wasn't it? I don't think we were too surprised about the victors in that game.
No. Interesting one about this one, though. Leeds was without Brownie this week, weren't they? So they had to shift the lines up a little bit. I don't know whether it was an injury-related or off the ice kind of thing. Hopefully not injury for their sake. But yeah, interesting to see what like them having like those individual players having to step up and sort of manage that game, because Telford aren't like no pushovers, are they? They've been to everybody and give everybody good games. So the fact that they've got churned out another good result at home is really good for them. And I think at this point in the season, that's the kind of thing that they need to start doing consistently.
Yeah, I think Leeds definitely need to get the train going again and become more solid in what they're doing. I know a lot of their fans and people think they're probably out of the title push now, but you never know what's going to happen. Swindon might have a little slip up, Sheffield might, and as long as Leeds are winning, there's always a chance that they might be able to get some out of it. But we'll see.
Absolutely.
Swindon Wildcats hosting the MK Lightning. Swindon taking it 5-3. Really good result that for Swindon, wasn't it? Really, you never really know with Milton Keynes at the minute. They've picked up a little bit of form, but they're pretty bad away. But give it a good go. But Swindon ultimately taking it.
Yeah, absolutely. They can go anywhere and get points. Milton Keynes. Let's not discredit them like that. I know obviously the home form has been pretty poor. But Swindon, I think there was on like an 8 or 9 game winning streak, home and away, and it's no coincidence, is it? They're the best team in the league at the moment, form wise, depth wise. Just they're unbelievable, aren't they? They've got goals from everywhere, and the man between the sticks is on fire. So yeah, what's not more to love, really?
Yeah. Basingstoke Bison hosting the Solway Sharks. The Bison taking this one 4-3 in overtime. So, well, it seemed like the behaviour was back to as it should be between these two, but obviously a hard-fought game again, and the Bison just nicking that extra point. But I'm sure both teams at minimum would have loved just taking that extra point there.
Yeah, definitely a big one for the Bison as well, because they've been on a little bit of a slump, haven't they? I think this one might have kept them above Solway maybe, or just pipped them a little bit by a few points, which is desperately what they need. But I don't think any point on the road for Solway is a bad point, to be fair. Like especially with the travel down there. I think I watched the interview with Solway's manager on Sunday night, and I think he said that the boys got home at like 6 a.m. after that game. Which is ridiculous considering it started at 6:30, which probably ended about 8:30, 9 o'clock. The fact that they've all got sorted, probably got on the bus straight away and still got onto their beds at 6 o'clock. I think 1 point's probably a good outcome there.
Yeah. I mean, imagine getting home and the sun's just coming up. You would not want to, would you?
Absolutely mental. And then you've got Sheffield on the night. You're like, oh, God.
Oh, dear.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts.
The final game on the Saturday, Bristol Pitbulls hosting the Hull Seahawks, which obviously I'm sure you and Brad have covered quite well there. Seahawks taking that one 6-2. It was nice to sort of rectify a wrong there, wasn't it? Obviously Bristol being a bit of a weird team for the Seahawks this season, and to do a job over them away was real nice. I enjoyed to see that one on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then we moved on to Sunday. So as you mentioned about Solway, there was the first game on Sunday, hosting the Sheffield Steel Dogs, and the Steel Dogs taking that one 8-3. And I remember talking to Brad about this one as we was at Seahawks, funny enough, and I think it was 25 minutes before Sheffield actually got their first goal.
Really?
And on, it just
floodgates.
Yeah, it was. I remember just watching it, going through on Blue Line Stats, which we've talked about, and just, oh, there's the first goal. It took 25 minutes, is it? And then straight after that, it was just ping, ping, ping.
No, there's no point putting your phone back in your pocket.
There wasn't. You were just constantly pulling it out like, oh, there's no one. It was, madness. Bit of a collapse there by Solway, but like you say, after the travel on the Saturday, I'm not surprised, because if I was a player, I wouldn't have fancied it.
Some pretty strong words to be said after the game as well by the coach and I think the GM and stuff like that. So that was interesting, saying like some of the players need to look at themselves in the mirror and stuff, but it's always going to be a tough ask, especially Sheffield. Like, regardless of where they're coming from and stuff like that. Like, let's not forget Sheffield have a lot of Friday fixtures, so they're probably resting up a lot of the time on the Saturday because of Steelers. And then on Sunday, they've all got the batteries recharged. Yes, they have to go on a bus ride wherever, but like if Solway have got home and got 4 hours sleep. Can you imagine, like, or 5 hours sleep before they have to be back up and things like that? Then they've got Sheffield Steel Dogs coming to town with the likes of Genjinov and Sommer and all these lot who are firing for fun. Like, such a hard ask, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Sheffield obviously having 3 games this weekend just gone. You know, I mean, that sort of cup game midweek, getting into the final, chuffed a bit, playing on the Friday, another win, happy days. They've got that game and they mustn't have thought like loss was even on the cards, because when you're firing like that, the confidence is high.
Yeah.
They'll see themselves losing to many teams at the minute.
They're on a bounce, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's exactly what they need if they want to, you know, try and push for the title as well, because as long as they're winning, like we said, if Swindon start dropping points, they've got to be there to sort of, you know, capture up on that little gap.
Yeah.
Hull Seahawks hosting Bristol Pitbulls in the reverse fixture, and Seahawks taking this one 7-4. Nice result once again, you know, 7-1. You know, I mentioned to you before we started recording, it looked really good, and then it was just that third period again where Seahawks slowly slipped away and let up a few goals, which was a bit of a shame, but 4-point weekend. It's been a little while since we've seen one, so dead chuffed about that one.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting. Me and Brad touched on it earlier, but there's a few. I think we've got obviously the new, is it Heiskanen, the new keeper, Alex Santeri Heiskanen, that's what I think his name is. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when he comes in. I know there's a few rumours swirling around on the forums at the moment that there might be 1 or 2 players coming in. The Seahawks forums tend to are very highly name dropping a certain Leeds player. It might not be fair to name him right now, who might be coming over. That, you know, with a couple more additions, it might be an interesting end to the season, especially with the likes of like Hartman coming in. He's been really good this weekend.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, it was good to see him, and obviously he's finally getting a couple of goals, which we saw that with Mussy as well, didn't we? You know, it took a few weeks to get going, but you can start to see where he's adding real benefits to the team as well. So Hartman will add that as well, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Milton Keynes Lightning hosting the base in Stoke Bison. Milton Keynes taking that one 4-1. I'm not too surprised in that, to be honest with you. Milton Keynes, again, like we said, they had a bad result on Saturday, but then back at it on the Sunday.
It seems to be the trick at the moment for MK, doesn't it? 2-point weekends just churning through. I don't think many people would have expected it at the start of the season. I think quite a lot of people had them for going for the title, didn't they?
I know I did.
Yeah, and I'm sure Brad did too. But yeah, very interesting season for them. I think again at this stage in the season, you say it for a lot of teams, but now it's about them finding that form and, you know, starting to turn them 2 points into 4-point or 3-point weekends consistently, so they can give Coventry a good crack.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. And when you look at, you know, once you get to those playoff group stages where you want to try and qualify for the final 4, you need to win at least your home games and then 1 or 2 away games. And that's how it obviously has affected Seahawks in the past 2 seasons, where Peterborough Phantoms have been the team which have just managed to get that extra win. Yeah. And what's carried them through. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for Milton Keynes going towards the end of the season.
100%.
Peterborough Phantoms hosting the Leeds Knights, and the Leeds Knights eking that one 5-4 in overtime. Another game I was keeping an eye on because I know Peterborough was winning that one for a large part.
There was.
I think it was 2 minutes before the end, Leeds managed to make it 4-4, and then it was all of 17 seconds into overtime. They managed to win it.
Was it at one point that was winning? I think was it like 4-3 until like the 57th minute or something, and then they can't it 4-2 was it? Yeah, it was 4-2 to like 2 or 3 minutes to go, and eked it is the perfect saying. Like I know you say it, we all say it a little bit. Like I think you was the one who introduced it and loved the saying. But yeah, they proper eked it, didn't they? And they've come up with 2 massive points there, really, rather than zilch, which is big for them. And another 4-point weekend for Leeds getting back on track.
Yeah, like you say, Leeds, that's what they're going to have to do towards the end of this season if they want to stay, you know, in that sort of contact in that top 3. They need to go to war in games like that. And as we've said many times, just get in, get out. If you get the points, get straight back on the coach and just be like, lads, we've just done the job on them.
See you, pals. Love that. Yeah, that's true.
And then the final game was Telford Tigers hosting the Swindon Wildcats. And the Telford Tigers taking this one 4-3. So as we mentioned, obviously, about Swindon, if they have a little lapse, drop points, Leeds and Sheffield, they've got to be there to, you know, capitalise. And there's one right there straight away.
Massive win for Telford this. And I think, mate, you was the only one this week on the predictor who backed Telford. So, fair play to you. I don't know. It was just, for me, it seemed impossible to go against Swindon at the moment just because of how well they've been performing. But shows that they're not invincible and probably not the worst thing in the world. It might sound stupid, not getting 2 points, but actually giving them a bit of a reality check to sort of like, no, like we need to keep our heads on here. I think that's good for every team every once in a while, just because the further you go, does that build more pressure around you? And you're like, oh, we've got a 13 win streak now. We need to make it 14 and we need to make it 16 and stuff like that. But, they're in a really good position at the moment, Swindon. But, yeah, massive credit to Telford because that's a really, really good win. And in regulation as well, like, very, very good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you've said there. And it's funny how you say about Swindon, because I'm sure we've mentioned it pretty much. They haven't lost, obviously, a lot this season, but most times they've lost, we've said, like, it'll do them good, that, because they do go on these long stretches where if the only thing you're chasing is the next number on the streak of how many games you've won, I think you can sort of, like, get a bit lapsidaisical in what you're doing. And I think you'd rather be a bit more on edge all the time as opposed to just thinking, oh, it's another game, lads. Oh, there's win 11, there's 12, there's 13.
Exactly.
You end up like that, and I think like that'll just give them a bit of a reset and think, you know what, we just need to be careful here because there is teams lying in wait if we do start to falter.
Yeah, big time, 100%.
So now let's have a look at the standings for after this week's fixtures. So it does get really interesting again. Looking at the league standings, so first place is Swindon Wildcats, 37 played, 61 points. Sheffield second, 39 played, 56 points. That 2-game gap is still going to be massive for Swindon at the moment. They've got a bit of leeway if they do drop any more points. Leeds in third, 36 played, 50 points. Peterborough Phantoms in fourth, 37 played, 46 points. Telford Tigers in fifth, 38 played, 42 points. Hull Seahawks sixth, 37 played, 41 points. Milton Keynes Lightning in seventh, 38 played, 40 points. Romford Raiders in 8th, 37 played, 30 points. Bristol Pitbulls, 37 played, 30 points. Basingstoke Bison in 10th, 36, 28 points. And bottom of the pile is Solway Sharks with 38 played, 27 points. So it has tightened up at the bottom, as we mentioned. Both Romford and Bristol, exactly the same, played and points. That's going to be real nice as we continue for the next few weeks. Hull Seahawks nicely in 6th. Still a chance to make a bit of ground. 4 or 5 points off Peterborough there. Peterborough had a good weekend, so that could have been a lot closer. But that 4 points for Hull Seahawks has been massive to keep us back in there.
Definitely. And obviously, Telford, who are a point ahead of us, have obviously got that game in hand as well. So, if we do win that game in hand, which is against Leeds in a couple of weeks, that could squeeze us up to 5th as well. One thing that shouted out to me is I'm a bit of a stats nerd. But Sheffield Steel Dogs now, the maximum amount of points they can get is 86 points, or Leeds. So Swindon are currently on 61 points. So I'm wondering if they've got a big 13 written in their changing rooms, because if they get 13 more wins this season, they've done it. It doesn't matter about what anybody else has done. I think, would we play a 54-game season as?
54 to 56, something like that.
Something like that. So, we've got about, 17, 18 games left of the season. It's gonna be really, really interesting. But if you're Swindon now, you've got to focus on yourself, haven't you? And just be like 13 wins and we've done it. And how often are they churning out those 4-point weekends? And to be fair to Sheffield, all they can do is just carry on doing what they're doing. They're churning out wins, keep the pressure on Swindon. But every time Sheffield drop 2 points, that number goes down as well for Swindon. So I don't know whether we should have a big 13 written on a whiteboard somewhere in the studio, and every week just like rub it off and be like, oh. But no, the countdown's on maybe for Swindon a little bit. But do you see? I know we've still got a hell of a way to go, but do you see Swindon fumbling it now as?
While you was just saying that, I was looking at the table, and the one thing that jumps out to me is sort of regular timed losses. Swindon have only had 5. The next closest is Sheffield, Leeds, and Peterborough with 10. So they've got 5 losses better than anybody else, and that just seems madness. That we've had 37 games, they've only lost 5 times in regulation.
It's crazy.
That is stunning. That, and with that said, I can't see them going on a massive stretch of losses, which is needed. They need to lose that next 5 just to open the door for Sheffield. I mean, you say 13 wins there. They've got 2 games in hand on Sheffield. So by the time they're on level games, it could be 11.
Absolutely, yeah. Which is again is absolutely mad to think about. I think the experience that they've brought in this year from the Elite League has played a massive part in it, done it, like Ben O'Connor and Owen Griffiths and people like that. And even that 5th import coming in, Villegas, like he's been really good. But the squad is just so depthy in it. Like if someone drops out, it doesn't matter. They've got force, so like the lines that they've got are so solid. And it's I think the beauty of Swindon as well, that what they're doing is they're not dependent on one line. We say it every week, don't we? But it needs saying, like, they just get the job done wherever whichever line's out. Like, they're just such a good team. It's really good to see.
They're much like any other team where they've got great individuals, but those individuals come together as a great collective. We talk about Leeds with Brownie. We're talking about Peterborough with that top line this season. And it isn't quite enough because as a team as a whole, it hasn't quite clicked. Whereas for Swindon, it has. And that click is what's got them in the position they're in. And, I wouldn't want to jinx them, but they're there to be champions at the minute, in my opinion. Unless there's a great fumble, I can't see anything else. And the good value for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be a massive shame for them if they didn't do it now. That might be curse to the commentators from us, but it would be an absolute madness end to the season, wouldn't it? But nah, I can't see League going anywhere else now other than Swindon. Before we do move on, as well as our dreams have been crushed. I was under the impression that the cup final was going to be over a weekend, but it's not. I think the first game's on a Wednesday and the second game is a couple of weeks later on a Thursday. So our Yorkshire Derby double-headed cup dream has been crushed, mate. I'm gutted about that.
Well, unfortunately for you, probably won't be able to get away with me, but I could probably have one of those dodgy sick days, and I could have a little night at Sheffield or Leeds. Harder for you though, with what you do. So.
It's not a bad shout. Although I feel like I might get into that at the moment.
Get it in early.
Yeah, but no, it's not a bad shout, that. But no, it might still be doable. Might still be able to catch one. If I get a quick 4 o'clock finish, we could get on the road and do it, couldn't we? We'd maybe have to have a look into it. But be an absolute tasty double header, that Leeds and Sheffield, were it?
Yeah, I mean, just to touch into that before we move on to our team of the week. Just looking at that at face value, I don't know how it plays out because not really either of them an aggressive side, so I can't see it like being a real aggressive affair over 2 legs. I think it's going to be a lot of skill and firepower, and I think that's going to make for a real interesting watch over 2 games. I wonder how much of a feeling out process we'd get in those 2 games.
I don't think there's an automatic choice of being like, well, obviously it's going to be Leeds, because I don't think that's the case this season. I think both teams are as good value as each other, and I think like each team's had the sort of bumps in the road and falters as well, haven't they? So and to be fair, they've both got into the final in really convincing second leg fashion, haven't they? Like Leeds shutting out Swindon 3-0 and then Sheffield doing what they did to Peterborough. Like, I honestly can't call it at the moment, but it's something that I'd really, really like to see. Even if we all just banded together and bought the stream or something, like, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, both of them did brilliantly away in their first legs and did what they had to do away and keep the tie close. And then, like you said, they went home and that's where they dominated. And there was given opportunity to then go and run away with it, and they did. So it'll be interesting to watch that one.
For sure.
That wraps us up then. We'll move into our team of the week. So now it's time to have a look at our team of the week for this week. Some interesting calls in there. Some good players there, and I like what it looks like. It's maybe a bit different. People might not have expected this, but I think we're as well within our right to put the players in that we have done, and I think it makes for an interesting little team of the week this week. So I'll start us off as normal. Obviously, be a bit mixed up without Brad this week, so we'll just alternate between us. He'll do anything not to do this bit, won't he?
Slacker.
Yeah, part time. So we'll start off with our netminder then. So our netminder for the team of the week this week goes to the Basingstoke Bisons, Max Wright. So obviously Max Wright, we've mentioned him many a time already this season. He was pretty red hot early on in the season and really tough to beat. He got injured, and it did speak volumes of how much of a character he is for Basingstoke, because no disrespect to the backup at Basingstoke, but the goals started to flow, the solid defence started to fall apart a bit. So it's only a big credit to Max Wright. Obviously, he's had another tough weekend again for the Bison, but they did get a big win. That overtime win, I believe it was against Solway, and obviously respectable performances at Sheffield and MK. Really good sides. Sheffield, as I mentioned, but they're free scoring, so it's going to be tough. But over this weekend, Max faced 125 shots and only conceded 8, which is ridiculous.
That is a joke.
And obviously, as we said, that just shows how much of a help he is to his team and how good of a goalie he is. I think he could go play for pretty much most teams in the league, to be honest with you. You wouldn't mind, if he offered his services to you, you wouldn't say no, would you?
You'd never turn him down. With all these rumours of import numbers going up and things like that, he's got to be one of the first names on team sheets for those teams that haven't got that standout goalie who's keeping them in games, because that's the next step in it, I think. And unfortunately to the British netminder, or is it unfortunate or not? Everyone's got different opinions, but for those people who want to stay in games, you need a top netminder, and unfortunately there isn't an absolute handful of Brits that will do that, like Gozzy and Rennie Mar, for example. So the likes of Max, he'll definitely. I think a few people will have the checkbooks out next season, don't you?
Completely agree with you on that one. So he averaged 91.6% save across the 3 games, which is very good.
Nice.
I still think the 125 shots conceded to 8 goals only going by him is ridiculous. That is some stat, that.
Worthy of a stat on its own, isn't it? That's unbelievable. That's a fair play to Max. Let's go into our defensemen then. So our first defenseman is a Sheffield Steel Dog, coming off the back of their very successful week. And it's Liam Steele this week. So he has been ever present for Sheffield this season. And he has become a very, very important player for the Steel Dogs this season. Obviously, he's played a lot in North America, but he's a Brit, which is fantastic. So it's not taking up an import spot or anything like that. And he has become a really, really solid member of their team. So obviously, he started the week by helping keep Peterborough at bay, obviously only conceding 1 goal and booking in that semi-final, and sort of booking their spot in the cup final because of that. On Friday night, Liam grabbed an assist and kept Bison at bay, again only shipping 2 goals, which is a really good feat in itself. But then went one step further in Solway on that massive road trip, and he got a goal and an assist. And from a defenseman, if you're sort of getting these numbers and performances, there's not much more you can ask for, is there, Az?
No, I mean, as you've said there, you can just see the progression over the weeks. I had a great night on the Wednesday in that cup semi-final second leg. Great work. Then got his assist the next night, and then got the goal and assist. So it must have been some week for him, and I bet he's chuffed with what he's achieved there. And as many players will be for Sheffield, big project at Sheffield. A lot of players that have come in there, maybe with a bit of expectation on them to maybe do something with this project this season. And obviously, it's where it's cup final and chasing the title. So
yeah, absolutely. That sort of big question mark at the start of the season about how they would do is it must have gone away now, because even if the season finished today, like what they've achieved in comparison to last season when there was very, very up and down, weren't they? Like they're a different team now, and they're a very credible team as well.
I think, regardless of being in a cup final, I think even if they go to the cup final and lose it, I think it's still a massive positive from where they were to where they are now. Obviously, they'd love for this season to be capped off with that success of some sort of title, whether that's the cup or they do manage to chase the league title down. I think that would be great to put something back in the cabinet and go, that's where we started, whatever they're going to achieve over the next 3, 4, 5 years. They're building a team there where they're pretty young players, so there's still a lot of time for these players to get even better, which seems ridiculous when we talk about some of them. But there'll be a team to watch for a fair few years now, and it's good for the league, to be honest with you.
It is, definitely.
So our second defenseman, it is a Seahawk. Would you believe it? Bit of a...
Biased.
But probably not one that many would have suspected. And it is Tom Stubbley. I'm a big fan of Tom. I've always said is that player that will give you a minimum 7 out of 10 every week. He seems to just do the fundamentals of the game really well. But then he just went and, I don't know, he's obviously good mates with Emmy Speck, and he's obviously been watching him too much, because when he let that shot go in that game, I'll tell you what, finding the back of the net was unbelievable. I had to double take to see who it was. It was probably one of the best goals he's ever scored, surely.
Everybody's usually like, they usually go through the stats and stuff first, but we've just gone straight to it. We're like, everyone sees a rocket, because that's exactly what it was. It was a rocket on Sunday. And I think even Stubbs might be a little bit surprised on that one.
The puck definitely jumped up on him, and that's the only reason it looked good. They didn't think probably going to be a grass cutter.
Yeah, he squiffed it into the top bin.
But no, obviously played a very important role for the Seahawks after, obviously, Brock's injury. He's obviously going to try and step himself up as a more senior player in that defensive unit. Obviously, Seahawks being short on D this weekend, so he's obviously had to take a bit of responsibility with that, and he has done. Big defensive performance, an assist away to Bristol, who haven't been shy of the net recently, and then man of the match performance on the Sunday, including another assist, and his little rocket into the top bin. Can't have much more than that. Like you say, Stubble is one of those players. There is a few players like it throughout the league where they probably don't get the credit they deserve. They just do the game right and what you want them to do, and it's good when they get moments like these, where you can sort of celebrate it, first goal of the season. It's not a bad one, is it?
Absolutely not a bad one, mate. And don't worry, Stubbs, we've got the players like you covered, mate. Not the first time he's been in our team of the week, actually, as he was in a couple of weeks ago, wasn't he? And that one because of the goals and this, that, and the other, and dancing through the fences. He's just been really solid, and he does deserve it. So call us what you want, call us biased, but we've got a 4-point weekend, and the standout defenseman this weekend was Stubbs. So how do you like them apples?
Love that.
Sorry, everyone. I'll go back to my reserved self. Anyway, moving on to our forwards. We are, of course, going to go to the Sheffield Steel Dogs this week. I know, shock, horror. And who else was it going to be, Azza, other than the man himself, Bergenjinov? He's been a massive factor in a massively successful week for them. It sounds like I'm talking about Liam Steele again, but on Wednesday night, he scored a hat-trick against Peterborough to walk them through to the cup final. He then had two more goals on Friday night in the home win against the Bison. And then just to wrap it up, he had a 4-point night in the 8-3 win against Solway with 2 goals and 2 assists. He's had 7 goals in 3 games and 2 assists as well. So what more do you want?
I mean, we're losing the words to say. Another player that is just unbelievable. We've had him in there as our player of the month. He's had countless, player of the week. He's just, can Sheffield keep hold of him? Is now my question for next year. Can they? Is this why they need to win something to maybe prove to players like Bear? This is only the start of something.
This is where you need to be. Yeah.
This is where you need to be. We'll build around you. And I mean, he is some player. Well, I don't suppose it's a massive complaint, but when Sheffield came to Hull, we just didn't see the best of him. I mean, off nights, but when you see players performing at that standard, you do want to see them when they come and play at your rink, so you can see, oh wow, that is the player.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Like when Cam Huff came to town, I remember last time, and he was just a joke, like a rocket up and down the ice. You can I can see that across now, but yeah, I'm sure Bear will come back to haunt us at some point this season if they've got another road trip to town. Hopefully not, but let's just say it was good Seahawks defense on that night for Bear. But he's not making much of a hassle of going and doing it in other places. So that's probably what we like to see. We're actually complaining about Genjinov not playing well in our games. Like, what is that about?
I know. Well. Maybe that's just the neutral in us just coming out.
Absolutely, yeah. And before we move on as well, just want to give a big shout out to Bear because he's been really, really cool with the podcast. Regularly gets in touch and bits and bobs like that. So we do appreciate that from him. Very, very sound guy.
Yeah, that's massive. That. So moving on, another forward in our team of the week, and it is a Leeds night, and it is Liam Payton. So I had big shoes to fill this week, and Kieran Brown out. You're looking at who's in the dressing room who can step up, and Liam Payton was that guy. Scored a big goal in the power play on Saturday against Telford, then chipped in with 2 assists. One helped take the game to overtime, and then went on to score the overtime winner. Which, no mean feat, is it really? Another player that's has showed at times how good he is. Leeds they've been a bit up and down, as we know. They've maybe struggled a little bit with imports this season, I think. I don't think they've... Usually the imports have been solid. You know what you're getting from Leeds, but they've had to change it up a little bit due to, maybe performances, injuries. But Liam's coming clutch, and I think he'll be a player probably sticks around for a few years at Leeds and gets better.
I agree. He's definitely an oldie player, I think, and I think the Leeds fans love him. He's been one of those players where other imports might have been a little bit up and down. He's always been consistent. He's just gone in centre, second line, and because you have Kieran Brown, Biss, and Sobbs or whoever on the first line, you need your second line to have that firepower and that as well. And yeah, he's been a really, really big player for him. I know that a lot of Leeds fans will want him to be sticking around next year. And like you say, when Brownie's out and, you've got those bits against you, he's the kind of player that you need. And it's great that he stepped up this weekend. And I think he's very well deserving. I'm not sure whether he's been in our team of the week so far this year, which is a bit crazy, really, because he churns out a lot of positive performances.
Yeah, he does. I don't know if he has, to be honest with you. I seem to think his name has popped up maybe a couple of times, maybe as an honourable mention. But yeah, it's baffling if he's never been in because of how good he is.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's move into our last one then. And to be honest with you, probably not a name, no disrespect to him, that we would have had on our radar for Team of the Week recently. But we have gone back to the Seahawks, and this week we've gone with Richard Hartman. Who has been a new arrival at Seahawks. Obviously, he spent a lot of time at Peterborough MK this season. But he has come into the Seahawks and he's really hit the ground running, in our opinion. He went on to third line this week. I think last week, Brad had mentioned earlier that he sort of had a free hit weekend on the fourth line, just sort of bedding in. But a really positive thing this weekend was putting him on third line with Musil and Hare, because I think that third line was really, really good value, even at times matching up against Bricknell's line and shutting those guys down. So really, really positive. He obviously helped Seahawks to a big 6-2 win away on Saturday night and actually chipped in 2 goals as well, which would be massive for his confidence. And then obviously on the Sunday night in the return, like I mentioned, he chipped in 2 assists alongside Musil and Hare, who were arguably one of Seahawks' best lines this weekend, I'd say, Azza.
Yeah, it seems to have, found its feet really quickly, that lineup, and, those players matching up together. And it is good energy and a bit of just odd creativity when it needs to be, but it is a hard-working line, and that's what you need. And now it is starting to produce points, which, as a coach is what you want. You want points throughout your entire lines. You can't just rely on a top line, a second line. If you can get them all the way through, I know he's not in the team, but Bo Reeder as well is another one in there who had a bit of ice time this weekend.
Yeah.
Looked really good as well. Obviously, you've got a ball as well. So
yeah, that fourth line, we mentioned that as well. Like, we was playing good 4-line hockey this weekend. Yeah. I think Bo's goal out of all of them was really good, because I think it was like a dump and dump and chase by Kent. He chased his own dump, ended up on the puck, passed it to Brutz, who went through a few players and then backdoored it to Bo. And when you're getting all these goals up and down the lines, it's fantastic to see. And fair play to Matty for bringing Hartman in, going back to him, obviously, with him being the team of the week. Like, he's obviously seen something there, and it's come to fruition already. Like, it's fantastic. I wonder if he's had 4 points all season at Peterborough and MK, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think it's very valid. I think, if he can be kept around for next season as well, I think he would be a player that you would take in a heartbeat. Really seems to have the right stuff and what Matty wants. We'll see.
100%. Agreed there, mate.
Well, that wraps up Team of the Week for this week. So we'll leave it there, and we'll move into next week's games, and obviously our predictor scores on the doors.
Absolutely.
So now we're going to look at the coming week, the fixtures. Obviously another exciting week ahead. But before we delve into that, it's everybody's favourite part, which is scores on the doors. So I'll hand over to you, Rossy, because you're the man who has all the information.
Absolutely, mate. And before anybody worries, please don't worry. On the Monday, I did give Brad strict instructions to give us his predictors, and he obviously loves it as well. So I'm sure he'll be tuning in, maybe skipping to this bit straight away to find out if he's won or not. But yeah, we've got Brad's predictions as well. But before that, obviously, got the old book, as we always do. So going into this weekend, there'll be no surprise that Azza was leading the chase in first place with 137 points. I was in second place with 129. And Brad is making his way back a little bit with 120. So I guess, Azza, before we go into it, mate, how do you feel like you did this weekend?
I think it's a better week than last week, to be fair. I sort of knew right off the bat that last week was not a good one. I don't know if it's enough to win this week, but I think if I'm not bottom, I hope. There's a very confident one for me there. I hope I'm middle of the pack at least here.
Fair. And you know what, Az, you are right. I think it's been a pretty good week all round, to be fair. Some interesting results. Two of us have got perfect scores this week as well, which obviously massive in the race. So let's just do it like this. So one of us has got 9 points this week.
Wow.
Another one of us has got 9 points this week. And the other one's gone and got 11, hasn't he?
Has he?
He has. So literally, one of us has 9, one of us has 9. And Brad Lahr wins the weekend with 11 points. Yeah, so I guessed that Leeds would beat Telford 4-2. So obviously, I've only got 7 correct results there. You have gone out and predicted 9 games correctly. So there needs to be some sort of Paddy Power NIHL sort of betting odds, because you could make some money, mate. And then Brad has done the same, but he got a correct score. So he predicted that Leeds would beat Peterborough 5-4. Although it was an overtime, we do still give those extra 2 points, don't we?
Yeah.
So me and you got 9, which I think's a pretty solid weekend for us as. And then bottom of the pack was Bradders. Top of the pack was Bradders with 11. So that does change the scores up a little bit. Doesn't change the placings. However, Brad's made 2 points up on me, which is a little bit worrying. So he is currently in third place still. He has 131 points. I'm in second place with 138, and I am 8 points behind you with 146.
So it's still pretty tight then, really. And I think, is this back-to-back wins for Brad? So back-to-back-to-back?
It is back-to-back wins for Brad, actually, I think. Yeah, I don't know whether he won the one before that as well, actually. But,
might be 3 on the bounce. And if it is, that's some going for Brad Lahr. He needed the points.
I think he said, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago, he was like, whenever I seem to win, it always seems to be tight and things like that, which is true. But if you win in weekends, you're making points up on the other person, aren't you? And I don't think, even though there's like maybe 9 weeks to go, something like that, I still don't think it's a case where you're just like, right, I'm cruising, I've done it. Because look at the week that you had near Christmas where you got 15 points. It was ridiculous, wasn't it? Like, you get a couple, like 2 or 3 correct scores, 9 points, 6 points extra. Like, it's ridiculous, isn't it? So, yeah, all to be played for still.
Yeah, that's it. So well done, Brad Lahr, once again.
Well done, Brad.
I won't spit in the cup this week.
You can't, mate. It's at his house again.
Oh, God knows what he's been doing with it.
Oh, I wouldn't like to think.
This is how he's making it.
Protein shakes, innit? He's on the gym hype now.
No. There's always one, isn't there? Bless him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If anyone was gonna, you know what though, he'll leave me in the dust out like a right sack of potatoes next to him by the summer.
To be fair, I was gonna say, like, Brad was always one of those that enjoyed a pant at the rink, and he hasn't. He's been turning up with his bloody dumbbell water bottle, and he's been having that. So
honestly, when he's locked in, mate, yeah, he's really good. He's like, I'm going to do dry January, and it's going to kickstart my gym and all stuff like that. So we're going a bit off topic here, but we are very proud of him, aren't we? As his commitment's unbelievable. So fair play to you, brothers.
Yeah, fair play, Brad Lahr. Let's jump into it then. Let's jump into games, starting with Friday the 30th, and it is the Basingstoke Bison hosting the Swindon Wildcats. An interesting game, this one. Obviously, Basingstoke will be trying to recreate what they've done earlier in the season, that big 1-0 win against Swindon. But how do you see it going?
Yeah, so I have gone the way of the Wildcats this week, but I've not gone for an overwhelming win. I do think Bison are good, are good at their own rink sort of thing. They've obviously got Max Wright and a solid decor. I think any of those extra suspensions will be coming back this weekend, which will be big for them. Hopefully they'll try and build it a little bit. But I have gone for a 4-2 win to the Bison. No, I haven't. No, to Swindon. Swindon. Rewind, Swindon.
I've also gone Swindon. I've gone for a 5-1, so I have gone a bit more resounding. I just think that loss that Swindon had in Telford, I think that's going to get the engine going again. And I think they'll put in a few more good performances and just reassure fans that the wheels aren't falling off.
All right, guys, don't worry. Yeah. And I've got Brad's results here. So obviously I got him to do his completely separate. And he has gone for 4-2 to Swindon.
So that was the only game on the Friday, which moves into Saturday. And the first game on Saturday is Swindon Wildcats again, but against the Hull Seahawks. So back at the link where Swindon are very good. I've gone Swindon again. I've gone for a Swindon 5-2 win here.
Brad has predicted that Swindon is going to win, and he is predicted that they're going to win 5-4 as well. And it's unfortunately, mate, it's a clean sweep. I have also gone for Swindon. Those Seahawks have gone really well recently in terms of the form, and they are building that away form up. I do think that this is going to be a big weekend for Swindon in terms of getting back on track, like you've just said. So I think it'll be 4-2 to Swindon as well.
Okay. Bristol Pitbulls hosting the Romford Raiders. So what have I gone for this? I've gone for a Bristol 3-2 win here. I think it'll be a really close game. I think both teams won't really want to let this one up. So I can see this being a late sort of surge goal which might win this one. So 3-2 Bristol.
Yeah, Brad's got the exact same answer as me. Funnily enough, that's just his kind of vibe, isn't it? I went for Bristol too. I went for a Bristol 4-3 win, and Brad has also backed the Pitbulls to win 4-3 against the Raiders.
Milton Keynes Lightning hosting the Leeds Knights. What have you guys got for this one?
So I went for a little bit of a close game in this one. I went Leeds to win 3-2.
Okay.
I do think that these two teams really do like playing each other, especially because of that title chase last year. It's always quite close with those guys as well. So I've gone 3-2 to Leeds. Brad has also gone for Leeds, but a little bit further. He's got a little bit higher. He's gone 5-2.
Okay. I'm similarly to you, to be honest with you. I've gone for Leeds on this one, but I've gone 3-1. And I think it'd be a case of that third goal will come probably empty net or something like that.
Yeah, good shout.
Chase it. It's actually been interesting watch that one. Another big game, Sheffield Steel Dogs hosting the Peterborough Phantoms. So obviously a redo of the semi-final of the Cup. Can Peterborough sort of get some sort of vengeance? There's only be a little bit of vengeance, really. I've gone for Sheffield 5-3 on this one.
I have also gone with Sheffield, and I think it's going to be similar to last week. I do think Peterborough might get a couple more, though, so I've gone Sheffield 6-3. And Brad thinks it's going to be a little bit more close, I think, this week, as he's gone Sheffield to win, but he's gone 4-3. So I wonder if he thinks that, they might be back for a little bit of vengeance, maybe.
Lessons learned with that one for Peterborough.
Maybe so, yeah.
And then the final game is Solway Sharks hosting the Telford Tigers. What have you got for this one?
So I have gone for Telford to win. I usually back the Solway, actually, but after last weekend, I don't know what's going to happen. They're either going to have an absolute rocket up the backside, or they are, I don't know. And Telford have just come off a big win against Swindon, aren't they? So, they're going to be reeling. I've gone Telford 4-3. Brad has gone Telford 5-4, but he's gone for an overtime win.
That's interesting.
I think we've both gone for quite tight games, because Solway can churn out results at their rink, let's not forget.
Yeah, I think, I've gone Telford as well, but I've gone a bit more of a bridge gap, and I've gone for a Telford 6-2. And I just think that win over Swindon last weekend for Telford might just give them a bit of confidence going in. I think it'll just skyrocket them again to go on a nice little run. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, it's part of a double header, that, isn't it? So usually quite interesting, them double headers when they play out when Solway have got, a couple of games against teams.
Definitely.
So we're going to Sunday, Leeds and MK again. This time at the Castle. I've gone for Leeds to win this one 3-2.
Oh, so similar to the Saturday night for you. I think we're all in the same vein here, and I think actually we must have picked something up over the course of the season because all of our fixtures are quite similar, aren't they? I've gone for Leeds 2. I've gone for Leeds to win 4-2 against MK. Brad's gone for a 5-3 win to Leeds. So another clean sweep for Leeds. I think we've all backed them for a 4-point weekend there.
Be an important 4-point weekend depending on how other results go as well. So
yeah,
interesting to watch that one. Romford, Hurst, Bristol Pitbulls. Obviously, this one's obviously a double header as well. That challenge for 8th spot in the final playoff. I have gone for Bristol away though this time. I've gone for Bristol 4-2.
Interesting. So a 4-point Pitbull weekend, yeah. Tasty. That's a good one. That it might be a battle of the netties. This one, CC versus Napier. Although Napes had a bit of a wobbler last Saturday, I hear. Well, actually, no. Brad. To be fair, Brad said that Napier had 2 really good periods, and he got a bit hung out to dry in like the last 10 minutes. So I wouldn't say he's had a wobbler, but he wasn't in the net on Sunday night, was he?
No, it wasn't. They put Thomas in goal and
Harry Thomas, who, to be fair to him, for a young lad, did do pretty well, didn't he?
He did. Just Seahawks was at it in the capital R's.
Nothing
on fire once again.
Nothing you can do, yeah. So back to the result then. Me and Brad have gone a different way. We've both predicted that the Raiders are going to win, and we've both predicted, I roll, that it's going to be 4-2 to the Raiders. So maybe again, maybe he's thinking the same as me. Maybe one of those at the end, maybe empty net or something.
That'll be interesting because we've all gone 4-2. Just you two have gone that way.
A flipped way, yeah.
It's weird that, isn't it? How we've all got the number.
Yeah.
And then Hull's home fixture is against the Basingstoke Bison. I've gone for a 6-2 Hull win here. So after the disappointment away at Swindon, to come home and maybe put the sword right through the Bison and take this one quite quickly, I hope.
Yeah, but a little bit of a bounce back, yeah. Well, you'll be happy to know that Brad has also gone the same as you. He's gone for he's gone for a 6-2 win to the Seahawks. I haven't, no, Azza, because I'm a good mate like that. I've gone 5-2. So not similar at all, mate.
No. Peterborough Phantoms hosting Sheffield Steel Dogs. So again, another double header weekend. I have gone for Sheffield again. I've gone for a 5-3 away win for Sheffield.
Well, I can confirm there that we've all gone differently here. So one of them. Finally. I backed Sheffield to win this one. I backed them 5-4 because I know what Peterborough can do in their own rink. I just think Sheffield are that good that they just churn out these good wins, regardless of how it just goes down. So a fair play to them if it comes off. Brad's gone the other way. I think he's gone to try and get a point here, mate, because he's gone Peterborough to win 4-3.
Fair. Not a bad little go.
Yeah, they can do it.
They can do it. I'm just going on recent history, and obviously I know the first leg was close in that cup game, but the second wasn't, and it's just. I think Sheffield have maybe just got that man game of a Peterborough now after giving them a bit of a pounding.
Agreed, mate. Agreed.
And the final fixture is Telford hosting the Solway Sharks. Telford, I've gone for a 4-1 win here.
Okay, we are all back on the same score, same wavelength now. Not for scores though, so that's fine. Which has been the tale of this weekend. I've gone for a Telford win 5-2, so that would wrap up a 4-point weekend for them. Similarly, Brad has also gone for a 4-point weekend for Telford. He thinks that they're going to win 6-3 against the Sharks.
Nice little bit of a goal fest there then. Should be quite interesting.
Hopefully for Telford, can keep that sort of, is it fifth space sort of position sort of locked in, which would be nice for them.
Yeah, and if obviously our predictions are right here, we're only expecting Seahawks to maybe pick up 2 points. Peterborough, we've gone mixed bag. Milton Keynes, we haven't gone faithful for because obviously the Leeds. So it should shape up quite nicely. Obviously, we're back in Telford for a 4-pointer as well. So
if it goes the way, Yeah, if it goes the way that you think, as Bristol might be pinching that 8th spot again and going 4 points clear of Romford, which would be massive for them.
Yeah, and it just means that the likes of Solway, Basingstoke, if they want any chance, they've really got to start picking up points.
Be a big one at the bottom of the table this weekend, won't it?
Yeah, I think even bottom spot now, I think that's not where any of them want to be. No. You know, obviously the start Solway had, where there was always on the road. Basingstoke had similar, they didn't have their own ice. I think if it was to end up something like, I know it's a bit out there, but if it was Romford or Bristol that fell into the bottom spot, that would be a calamity, that.
It would, really. It would. And considering the teams Basingstoke and Solway, like Solway have got Telford doubleheader this week, and that's a tough gig, that. And considering, you know, like Basingstoke have us and Swindon, you know, if they can pick up a few points this weekend, that'd be massive for them. So all to look out for. Very exciting weekend.
Yeah, I do want to just mention, as I've just said there about those teams, I know Romford had some injury trouble and, you know, issues with imports, as there was only down to one import at some point. So I don't want to leave you left out there when I'm saying, you know, it would be a calamity. I know you've had your own issues, but Bristol, I don't think they've got any sort of excuse, if I'm honest.
No, especially with the calibre of player they were bringing in at the start of the season. I think a lot of us was expecting them to be like 4th, 5th or something like that, didn't we? And it hasn't gone that way, but yeah, the charge for the end of the season. I think I don't know whether if you'd have said to them at the start of the season, because it's like the first year of the project where they're properly throwing the money around that, you know, making playoffs would have been the aim, because they didn't last year, did they? So you could say that, and they are still maybe on for it, but you know, if you signed up Jake Britnell for 2 or 3 years, then you're gonna have to start going up further up the table, aren't you? And batching people like that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen many a time already this season how the ice hockey contract means nothing. So you say about Bricknell there, if an offer comes in from somebody else in the league, you might just think, you know what, I was up there last season with Swindon, and I ain't fancying it down here. I need the big time events. And
you might absolutely, mate. You're 100% right.
Absolutely interesting. But then that finishes up another episode. Obviously a bit of a short one, a bit of a mixed up one, and we've had a bit of an interesting week for the pod, which has been really interesting. Again, sorry I missed the obviously chat with Nicky Watt on 4,000 and counting. I'm glad you guys really enjoyed it there. It just seems to keep getting better and better for us, doesn't it, really, the way we're going at the minute, with the people we're having on. We're being invited to go to different podcasts. It's exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And we are at episode 50, and this is obviously our 50th special. It's a shame that we all couldn't be together and that, but never fear, we'll obviously be back next week in the flesh doing that. And got a little surprise for you, Azza. I won't reveal too much, but I'm sure you'll be happy with it, as Brad will be as well, for our 50th anniversary. A little bit of a thank you from me. Keep your eyes peeled, everyone, for that one. But yeah, massive thank you to you, to Bradders, and to everybody who supported us so far. Really, obviously going on with Nicky was fantastic, and again, be sure to go over. I think subscribing to him for a month's like £2 or £3. It's nothing, is it? It's less than a cup of coffee, and he churns out some absolutely fantastic interviews. I don't have to say it; everyone knows who he is, and everyone knows what he has to say. He's an ace guy, and he was really going to town for us, like. To have us on his channels, it's just massive for us, isn't it? So yeah, really good that. And everybody who's been supportive up until this point, episode 50, whether that's other podcasts, fans, coaches, players, teams having us down to do puck drops, and yeah, just throw it at us, everybody. We're ready for everything, aren't we, Az?
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys mentioned at the beginning of the episode when I wasn't there, but we also hit another milestone, didn't we, on our Instagram page, which was massive. So not only 50th episode, but we did finally hit the 1,000 followers on Instagram, which is, something that's been in the corner of our eye. We've been hoping to achieve it, and we finally have, which is, big credit to everybody who watches and supports us.
Yeah, it was massive. And it is one that we said last week, actually, it'd be great to have it before our 50th episode. And lo and behold, they did it, didn't they? And I know on the day, us three was sort of like swiping down, being like, it's going to happen, boys. And Brad was like, nah. And I was like, oh, you not got a job today? He's like, 4,000 followers. It's like, way. But yeah, it was a really cool feeling, wasn't it? And again, people have continued to support us. So a massive thank you for that as well over on the Instagram. It just seems to be going really well at the moment. So yeah, we really appreciate that with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree anymore. I couldn't have said it any better. Obviously, the roll on to Coventry is getting nearer. Obviously, another big chance for us to get out amongst all the fan base, which I'm really looking forward to again. It was great last year. And all we can do is just keep saying the same thing, keep liking, supporting us, and giving us comments. We do see them. I know, Rossy, you handle a lot of the media stuff, and you do reply to people, which I'm sure people really like the fact that we do reach out to them, and we continue as we do.
Absolutely, mate. I actually came up with quite a sick idea early in the week about Coventry, didn't we? But which where we won't say out loud, but there might be some bits in there for you guys. So please do, if you see us in Coventry, come say hello. We're always open to talking to everybody out with, mate, because at the end of the day, these are the guys that have put us in the position that we are. So yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly there, mate. Yeah,
great stuff. Thanks, Rossy, and see you next week. And everybody else, please stay tuned.
Slapshot Syndicate, pure ambition. 3 mics, 1 mission. As a brand Rossy, yeah, that